want people to learn from this. The top 2 selling singles in South African music history were released by my record company, number 1 and number 2. Okay, 2 million copies and 1 million copies.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put in Sis Branda Fasi here.
This is the Hustler's Corner.
We back. Boo, 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 boo. Happy New Year. I'm already saying that Valentine's time. Can you guys imagine? I know. I'm sorry, guys. It's been 3 months. It's been quite a long time. But I'm fresh. I still have the beard though. The dreads have grew longer. The journey has been amazing. I don't want to talk too much because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about with my brothers. I've missed Penuel, the Black Pen. I've missed Nota. For me, I'm always on some, who's the first guest? And I'm like, there's a lot of guests and there's a lot of people that we have coming this year on the podcast. But I'm like, no, to kick things off and what the podcast represents and who we are, I'm thinking there's a lot of things since I've had my US trip and US tours that I need to speak to with Nota, with Penuel. So that's why the first episode officially of the year, it's with Nota. I know some of you guys saw the episode with Usbahle. That's an old episode, guys. That was recorded last year. Some of you guys thought that was the first episode. No, this is officially the first episode in February. So you guys must also hustle like me. So you can have a 3-month break where you're just traveling the world, just doing what you love. Press the like button there, guys. Share, subscribe. You guys know the king of podcasting, Nota, is here. In the 3 months that I've been away, a lot of things have happened. ChatGPT came into the picture. Usbuda toured America. Who'd have thought without an album? Shout outs once again to Major League DJs, guys, for that plug. And I did say, Guti, they don't even know, they're not even aware what door they're opening. I had to give them the props. How are you doing? I missed you, bro.
No, thank you. Props. Props. Shout out to Major League and shout out to you, man, on your international comeback.
To come back?
Yeah, because it's like you came back, Mara. Who's the States? Like, oh, smooth as teacher. Yeah, teacher.
And that's the thing. Because you get...
That's in there. Connecticut. Yeah, Igupi. It's an NY.
I still get kids who are like, are you really a DJ? Yeah. I'm like, if only you knew when you were made, your parents made you to my music.
Yeah, remember when it rained?
But I enjoyed it, bro. I enjoyed the tour.
Baby making weather.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
No, but it was fun, though.
So how was it?
It was fun.
Yeah.
No, we'll talk about me later.
Yeah.
I missed you, man. But I missed you, but I love the fact that you have so much presence on the internet.
No, thank you. Yeah, no. I mean, I spent the greater part of last year just visiting as many podcasts.
Let me actually put it this way. You spent the greater part of last year giving back.
Yeah.
Because you know the value you bring.
Yeah.
And I just saw, a lot of brand new podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so he's giving back. He's actually breathing life into other guys' new podcasts.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows once they bring you in, you bring the numbers and the conversations are always interesting.
Yeah.
Nota always has got issues to talk about and things to say. He's a bright mind.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give you props. So good to big up for visiting the new podcast. You know what I mean?
You. Yeah, no, because I mean, like a lot of guys need some encouragement and everybody has to play their role in whatever way they can play, you guys, yourself and McG, have been like the front runners over the past year. I mean, if you look at the space in 2020 or 2021, when you spoke about podcasting in South Africa, like McG was the only name that people knew about. Okay, fine. 2022, there's new names that are coming out. Okay, Sbuda also now your platform, it became established, even though you started it many years before, but it was the first time that in 2022 that it came a household platform. 100,000 subscribers, you got that in 2022. King David as well. He developed slowly, but in 2022, there's this new voice. And then all of a sudden, it just seemed like overnight, there's a diverse array of different voices entering the space and all
like
doing
that.
great,
the
doing great things.
Right?
Yeah. So, with that, you can't expect the guys who are creating the content, because I mean, I won't lie, I do the easiest part, because I just come in, I don't have to really prepare that much. Really, I just live my life. Nina, you put the equipment
God gave you
together.
the bright mind.
Yeah, I do the very smallest work, and then I come to the platform and then I share my part of it, which is my contribution. But my contribution is just something to encourage those people that are putting the cameras together, they're putting the sound together and everything else, to say, like, there's value in what you're doing and we should be building. And, it's been very, I guess, rewarding. I found it very fruitful. And just to see the space grow as well and develop has also been very rewarding and very fruitful. I think from a cultural perspective as well, we're seeing a lot more people telling our African stories authentically, and the content that they're creating is the content that people want to see. They're not getting to see it from traditional media, maybe because traditional media works on tried and tested concepts a lot more than experimental ones. Whereas in this internet space, we can experiment, we can try something new, and who knows, it might blow up. It might be the next Umlando, and then everybody starts doing it, and then it spreads like that virally, organically, without someone sitting behind with the corporate muscle to design a certain program and say, this is how we're going to market it, this is the target audience, this is how we're going to exploit this market. It happens on its own. And we needed that space. And TV is unable to cater for that space. Radio is unable to cater for that space because of the way in which their format works. In radio, you see how presenters, managers get fired year on year. You know what I mean? Performance is on a year-on-year basis. If you're not getting the numbers, they can't afford to experiment. They can't say, oh, now Sbuda was a Tembisa. Maybe one day he's going to be the hustler. You know what I mean? They can't bet on someone. They need someone that they feel is tried and tested. And in that gap, the people who have audiences on social media, they became the people that are less risky to pick, and to put onto platforms. But because of that imbalance in the way in which the radio format was created and social media having less gatekeeping, you started finding the wrong people starting to come onto the traditional media platforms, which robbed them of a lot of their credibility as well. So they've been on a finding themselves mission as well. TV is finding itself, radio is finding itself, and as podcasting is finding its feet and developing, it's finding an audience that is willing to try different things. And these new things also comprise of different ways in which the content is presented, different, cultural backgrounds of the presenters that are presenting this content. And that means that this diverse space, as it's developing, is going to develop a new audience that's going to have different influences that are going to create content that comes from a deeper well. If you think about it like us, our well is basically Pop TV and SABC. Ne?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 and ATV.
For you, even worse, because when awukhulanga nge-ETS like me.
Mnet open time.
Yeah, but bengekho ETS, like when you were the TV watching teenage age group, you know what I mean? So your references are limited to that media that you're exposed to. The kids today are exposed to a whole lot more media. Their references are much broader. You know what I mean? I can't have a conversation with your daughter about the things that she watches because I don't know what she's talking about. Not because I don't understand it conceptually. It's just that the amount of content that they're exposed to today is completely different. I mean, do they still have Ben 10?
Ben 10, I don't know.
Yeah, Bon.
Ben 10.
Yeah.
I mean, because some of our kids are also not necessarily only exposed to local children's TV.
They're exposed to everything.
They're exposed to everything. I mean, there's YouTube Kids.
That's my thing, is that they're exposed to everything.
They've got their own tablet. And
so when we were exposed to TV, we were exposed to Cartoon Network, Ben 10, ne? And we knew that. These kids are exposed to everything. So I don't even know if Ben 10 is... I think Ben 10 was back when I was a kid, it was just starting. Or when I was in high school or university, it was just starting. Now they've got Paw Patrol or whatever. But I don't even know if that's the main cartoon that kids are watching.
I get you.
You know what I mean? So they're exposed to so many different things. Gummy bears. Yeah. I was watching something about gummy bears. You understand? Yeah. It didn't go viral. Because the kids don't know what it is. So it was a video on TikTok, and all these old people. Know what gummy bears. You understand? All these old people on TikTok are like, oh, gummy bears. And then I'm like, nama gummy bears.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What is that?
You understand what I'm saying? And then you're seeing the generation gap playing out like on the internet itself. That's also going to play out in the content that's going to be created by these young creators, because you are basing your media on the media that you've been exposed to. So DJ Sbu, the radio DJ, comes from all the DJs that DJ Sbu listened to growing up, that he wanted to emulate. These kids are exposed to a plethora of different influences. They want to emulate different people as well. So there are also going to be different types of presenters. And it's going to be exciting to see that space developing now that there is at least a base or a foundation that's been created for them online. There's a catchment area, you know what I mean? All these brilliant ideas, there's somewhere for them to go and to be tried and tested and to be monetized, or to at least add value to them.
No, I'm so proud of a lot of you guys that are starting your podcast. It's so amazing how many podcasts with beautiful content that are out there.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that a lot of guys now, they're also growing their own resilience. You can see guys reaching like 70th episode. And I'm like, wow, these guys have been at it. They still have not, some guys have not even reached 10,000 subscribers, but they've been at it. But then you can see, okay, cool. The guys now starting to understand how this thing works. It needs consistency. At some point, it'll get that breakthrough. And then I'm also seeing people that offer a diversified form of content. Shout outs to Nkululeko from Massive Metro, and just seeing Nkululeko build his thing. Obviously, we with Massive TV, we did the Itiski TV. Shout outs to my brother Justice as well. But Nkululeko also saw the gap, and he started Nkululeko and Culture.
Exactly.
And I love what he's offering there. He's killing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm also loving the ones that are in the hood.
Yeah.
I love the ones about same thing what we're doing.
It's
But
a
Ekasi.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now this thing, but for me, the bigger picture says, the bigger picture says, we are hearing ghettos, and it's only the beginning. We are hearing ghetto stories, not from celebrities. These guys did not get into a taxi to go to the SAB. I mean, there's a guy, they call him the co-founder.
Yeah, co-founder, yeah.
Opinions,
Yeah.
Being
exactly.
in the hood.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
the comfort of his hood. But anyway, there's guys then who are podcasting in the hood.
Yes, our Ekasi intellectuals.
The voices of Ekasi. They've bought themselves a mic, they're sitting there, but the bigger picture says, these guys are now global. As much as they can speak to South Africa thinking, they're actually speaking to the world.
Yeah, because Rick Ross is watching that, is like,
the world, they don't have to tune into McG or Sbuda to listen to what's going on in South African ghettos. They can go directly to the kids in the ghetto because the kids' platforms are online. But let me tell you the beautiful thing, Nota, with what I'm seeing is happening. The guys are exposing themselves now to e-commerce, dollar-based online businesses, because this is a dollar-based online business. If you do this well and you build it and you stick to giving people good content and you're consistent at it, don't forget about blowing up. Just keep on doing what you gotta do. Keep on being fresh with your content. Keep on respecting your audience. Keep on making sure you're delivering for them. At some point, you're gonna wake up, whether it takes you, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, might take you 5 years, I don't know. You're gonna wake up owning an e-commerce online business that YouTube from Ireland pays you in dollars every month, without many expenses, without anybody telling you send an invoice, without anybody saying, yeah, pay this, pay that. These kids are gonna wake up and be like, damn it, I'm getting paid in dollars. I was just sitting down and having chats. It's passive income because every video that you put out is an asset. So I'm seeing a lot of guys in the beginning, they're starting just to podcast. But then as time goes, they start understanding the analytics. They start understanding things like about Patreon. They start understanding, how do I monetize this thing even further? How do I even give it more layers to make money out of it outside of just the check that comes from either Patreon or YouTube or Spotify or any one of those platforms. And then you get into platforms like about Buzzsprout, where they can then distribute your podcast to many other platforms. So we are now in a position where you don't have to leave here to become international. So let me tell you, and then I'll give it back to you. For me, it was beautiful to be playing in New York, playing in Atlanta, and all these places that I played at. There wasn't even a single gig where nobody would come to me and ask me, either of you or Penuel, especially you and Penuel. Hey, Penuel, where's Penuel? Why didn't you come? I'm like, yeah, America. Like, and then I mean, You know what I just said? America. With a KHA. America. And then I'm in Atlanta and like, and then even America, not only just South Africans who would come to our gigs, and shout out to the South Africans who've been coming to all the gigs.
Yeah.
You've got even African Americans. Like, we're loving what you're doing on the Hustlers podcast, man.
Yeah.
Where's Penuel?
Yeah.
We came here to your show thinking you came with the brother Penuel, man. I'm like, wow, guys, we are global.
Visa.
We are. I've been telling Justice to get a visa. Now people are complaining, saying I don't want to give them content because my guy here does not have a visa. He enjoys being an orangey farm.
We need to have visas, and I'm just upset that unfortunately I just had a lot of family things to tie up, and I wasn't able to go this time. But I'm glad that you were able to go and you got that experience, because I was with you in spirit, in the WhatsApp stories, whenever you're somewhere or something like that. I mean, because we can't always coordinate everything. But
we spoke about it before,
remember? But we did speak about it.
We were supposed to be together.
Yeah, we're supposed to be together. But I mean, even if we're not together, I'm watching what you're doing. I know, you're going to Connecticut. I've got this other connection, this guy who does this. Please meet with him when you're there. You know what I mean? And those are the types of things that, we're just doing ordinarily. And how many opportunities came about just like that? Like you said, you said Major League have got plugs that side. Masa, give them a call. Yeah, no, give them a call. We had that same conversation. You had the one gig that you did where they put you onto that one gig, and then all the other gigs then came about.
And I said it before I even left. I told Penuel, I was like, Major League has just opened the door just for one gig. They're doing their North American tour. They've invited me for one date. But obviously, knowing me as a hustler, I was gone for 3 months. I ended up doing and then I ended up registering MOFAYA with the FDA.
Oh, serious?
Yeah.
Oh, so
of course,
Dr. Fauci approves.
Not with the CDC.
Okay, FDA, okay.
Food and Drug Administration is like our own SAPS.
Oh, okay,
and
cool.
also the reason why I've also been away for longer is because it takes long. It takes anything from 6 to 3 months. Might even take longer. So I kept on being there longer, just hoping the FDA approval thing will come. It'll come. And then it's end of November. It'll come.
Yeah.
Then it's December. And then some people are going on. And then maybe, when they come back from holiday.
But luckily, South African music is in demand. You can say, Infana.
And then I'm kicking. And then they're calling me, bro. They're hitting. That's what I love about what's going on. That's why I'm saying I love what the kids are doing in the hood with being online, because it's global. Me being in America, and what I love about these things, guys, wherever you are in New York or in the US, this thing picks up that now this person has been here a little bit long. Yeah. The algorithms, they start treating you like now you are
exactly. Your Twitter changes.
I'm starting to see people following me from American Abazi. I'm even starting to see people following me from Germany, because now you're in America.
Yeah.
The algorithms start exposing you to the global market.
And especially in New York, because New York is a place where no one is really from there.
Do you know what I mean?
Everyone from around the world.
And then I'm like, that's the advantage of being here. Even these things can pick up that you're here. They're opening you up to a new audience now. And then the Hustlers Corner is also starting. Then you get people who come to the gig and just think I'm just a DJ, those who don't know me. Some of them are just being brought by their South African friends. And then they get introduced to the
Your
DJ.
Music, yeah.
Then they go to the social media. Then they see about MOFAYA. They start clicking. Then they start seeing. Then the podcast. And then he also writes books. And then I start getting people DMing me. Hey, I'm also doing this. Can you come? We don't have that much. And then I'm like, okay, let's go. And them dollars hit different.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And they're hitting different right now. So seeing the space developing, seeing how everyone's connecting to South African culture, to South African music, and it seems like South Africa is about to have its big Renaissance moment. Like we've got this moment.
Not about. It is having it.
Yeah.
That's why I actually wanted us to have an episode with Mensa Main as a part 2. Because the conversation we had about Amapiano and our music breaking in America, I've got an opportunity to experience it. And for me, it was a conscious decision. I'm going to stick to Amapiano. Because, I play house. I'm a house DJ. But I'm from South Africa. The last time when may soul rest in peace, Nipsey passed on. And then I said, I'm an ambassador from South Africa. Guys, remember, as soon as you leave your country, whether you like it or not, automatically you're an ambassador
for South
where
Africa.
You come from.
Trust me.
Whether you don't see yourself as that, when they write in the news, they're going to say, hey, South African.
According to people in Senegal, when I arrived there, number one, I killed Lucky Dube, because I'm a South African. I'm serious. Serious. I had to apologize for that.
My role model.
As a South African, you understand that you guys took one of our brothers. That's how much of an ambassador you are. You understand what I'm saying? I said, I'm South African, but where na? Nabulalu Lucky Dube nina.
Imagine.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's how much of an you can't divorce yourself from your country.
What our great predecessors, may so rest in peace, Abo Lucky Dube, Abo Mama Miriam Makeba, may their souls rest in peace, Abo Prahu, they saw this earlier, they did it many years ago. But right now, African music is all over the world, and it's the most popping thing, bro. And the last conversation we had, we spoke about Afro beats. But let me tell you about Amapiano. And let me tell Amapiano artists, guys, go out there. I know, Guti, there's a lot of gigs every weekend, and I know some of you guys think, if I'm away for 3 weeks, I'm gonna miss these checks. It's worth it. Because even just with 2 gigs overseas, or just even with 1 gig, it's an equivalent to maybe 10 gigs that you would make here at home. So it is worth it for you to go out there and experience the dollars, but not only just the money aspect of it, just go and see the Amapiano culture, what it's doing to the world. And for me as an OG, who could have just easily stuck to playing house music, I decided I'm gonna represent this sound. And this is what I'm gonna do, because this is what's hot right now, and this is what's coming from my country. And being an ambassador from my country, when these people are coming to the clubs, a lot of them, trust me, majority of them, they're also not coming for house. Not in 2022, 2023. They're coming for Amapiano. And I got some people who know me when they heard when I was gonna do the first gig with Major League. Some people hitting me up on DM Sbu. Please do yourself a favor. We know you're a house DJ. When you get to the US, if you can, please play Amapiano. We know you want to play house. If you want to play house, stick to house. You're gonna see you are going to disappoint a lot of people. And then I was like, I'll try house. My man, when you play house, whatever hot song of house music that you play, the crowd is just lukewarm. The crowd just wants Amapiano. And I'm like, guys,
listen
I
to
think
the people.
If the young people from home can know what they have in their hands, while my generation that grew up with Kwaito music, this is all that we wanted. Nabo Prahu, as I was saying,
dreaming of this.
We've always dreamed of our music blowing up and going global. It is global right now. It's in the beginning stages. It's not on the level of Afro beats, but it's getting there, and people are showing it live.
I think as much as we want our artists to travel, right? But we also want them to be developed and established at home first. Don't go out there trying to make a name for yourself emazweni when you don't have an audience in South Africa. Because what you'll find is that audience that is gravitating towards you because you are doing this Amapiano thing is doing that because they love Amapiano, the genre. But they don't have a personal relationship with you as an artist, as a creator. And we're finding a lot of, especially in the Amapiano space, a lot of artists are finding it very difficult to disassociate the fandom that they get from having hit songs with a following that they have from being an artist that is well supported. Sir Trill was speaking about, how he's made all these hit songs and he hasn't really seen the money or the benefit from that. And when I was looking at that and I was saying is that, I blame a lot of mismanagement within the industry, not his personal managers, but just management within our industry in general, is that we haven't done enough to share the knowledge and to share the skills because we've been so afraid that if I give this person knowledge, their artist is going to take my artist's bread. And because we've been competing and not thinking that we're developing an industry that needs to compete against the rest of the world, we've been competing amongst each other, la Ekasi. And that's the thing that's been dragging us down. The internet is here. You don't need to leave Ntuzuma to make a name for yourself. You can do whatever is popping there in your community
and still be global
and still be
through the internet, but
you can still be relevant throughout South Africa. And you don't have to come to Joburg. You don't have to go to the city center anymore. So in the same vein, right, if you're doing your stuff in your hood and in your community and the global audience is there online and is able to gravitate to, you can develop that. You don't need to now try and take and take shortcuts, because what you're doing then is that you're not developing an audience that is there to follow you. So what you find is that there's a whole lot of gigs, a whole lot of festivals, and every artist that's been on every hit song is on that lineup. But the people that are going to that festival, they're not going for any artist. They're going for the entire lineup. And what happens is that lineup, or the people on that lineup, they become interchangeable. And then you have an artist that was on every lineup from every festival, right, for 3 years maybe, was on every single hit song for 3 years. And then after 3 years, when they don't have any hit songs that they're featured on anymore, right, and they're not the new artist, because the new artist is the one that gets the most media attention, right, because people like to discover new artists. It's just a bias. The new artist will then be outperforming the older, more established artists, because that older established artist did not establish their own core fan base that follows them. So you'll find that the person will listen to Sir Trill's music, but they're not a Sir Trill fan. So when Sir Trill then says, okay, fine, I'm tired of now gigging everywhere, I want to do my own show, and then he sells tickets, the ticket sales won't be commensurate with the size of the brand. You understand what I'm saying? But an artist who you never see her on the charts, you never see her with latest singles, an artist like Zonke, right? Because she doesn't gig and the audience is there to follow her. When she does a show at Carnival City, in 2 weeks, 3,500 tickets are sold out. She makes 2.7 million rands. You know, she goes off to her house and then she takes a sabbatical until the next time she wants to present herself to the public. And she doesn't need to then be in the studio chasing a hit. She doesn't need to be at each and every single watering hole trying to gig and trying to make sure that she's relevant and she's present. You know, if she wants to go somewhere, she can go to Kings of Joburg, red carpet, dress nicely. She's not there for a gig. She's just there as an appearance to support something. And that's what our artists should be aspiring to do. You know, that's how they should be developing. While you're still an upcoming artist, yes, you can gig and do all that groundwork and be out there and expose yourself to various audiences. But when you establish yourself, you need to make sure that the fan base that you're building is there to follow you and support you.
So, Mina, yes or no? I agree with you, but I also disagree with you at some point. I agree with you from saying, because I've experienced it. I've got no new music. A lot of the people, they know DJ Sbu. And we've got a big community of South Africans that are overseas. Wherever you go, there's lots of South Africans there. More than half of the crowds were South Africans. And it's them that bring in the Americans. And the Americans will probably be like 20 to 30% of the audience. The majority part is South Africans. And some of them, it's South Africans who've been there for a while. Some of them, so it's pretty much, especially for a person like me, whom even if you left South Africa 5 years ago, you'd know about my work. Even if you left 10 years ago, you'd know about my work. Even if you left 20 years ago,
but
you still know about my work. So yes, but what I'm saying is I've got a brand that I've built, right? So even if I don't have any new music, people know the big homie. People, they know Sbu exactly. for whatever aspects, right? And for me, I want to say, you're correct in saying, it's exactly also what I was saying. You can be international, like us. But if you've got other interests of growing your brand, and like me, I've got business interests and I've got other things that I'm doing. For me, the music is a gateway to go and present the music and also create new relationships and then look at other business opportunities that come by the travels or with one being out there. So if you just want to only do music, it's also good to travel. Yeah, thank you, bro. It's also good to travel, Nota, because you never know who you might meet, what feature you might end up doing. I mean, I ended up doing what? I finished pretty much an EP in Detroit with some Detroit artists. I've got an Amapiano EP that I did there of like 6 or 8 songs that I did. And I mean, I ended up having to register MOFAYA. I ended up having to other things that I'm not going to speak about. I'm going back again month end. I've got 2 gigs.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm an international DJ official and I'm gone, bro. Once those dollars hit.
So, okay, you're going back month end?
Different, month end.
Okay, cool.
I got a gig. I've got 2 gigs in Atlanta.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then they don't stop. I already have inquiries for March and April. So it's already started. It's not going to stop. It's just about, I can decide and say, I don't want to do so. But let me just finish my point. The point says, when you couple your music by traveling, automatically because your presence is there, if you got a good manager who's a hustler who can create relationships, you might end up getting good features overseas. You might end up getting good business relationships overseas or opening up ways to end up making dollars there differently through other things away from music. Or with music, maybe even not only features. There's a whole lot of other ways on how a lot of Americans are doing things aware of Zona, Ekasi.
Okay.
But at the same time, I also still agree with you. You can still be international and still be here. You don't necessarily have to leave. It's up to you.
For clarity's perspective, I don't want it to seem as if I'm saying I'm discouraging anyone from leaving. No. What I'm trying to say is that there's certain people.
Thank you for answering.
Okay, no problem.
And by the way, guys, MOFAYA guys just treat it like furniture. It's like whether it's always there. But it does not mean because it's there, we must always be drinking it, man. No, it's like furniture. Just treat it as furniture. It's part of family. It's like South Africa. It's one of those things where when an American or a German person visits South Africa and there's something for you to be proud of and show, we've got a South African sneaker brand. It's called Patu. You can show them Patu, exactly. You can show them MOFAYA. So I can have whatever I want to have. It doesn't mean I always have to have MOFAYA. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so you were saying, and by the way, MOFAYA is now available on 4 Ways Boulevard and William Nicol, if the guy's selling
So the hustlers there.
The hustlers that
doing
are
their
selling
thing.
on Fourways
Shout out to all
Boulevard
the
and William
hustlers.
Nickel.
The whole country making their money in the street corners.
That's what I'm saying. So,
Sorry, go back. You were saying,
I was saying
you
that-
don't want to sound like you're discouraging the guys
yeah,
from
I don't
leaving.
want to, but from the environment that I come from, FOAs, I know that it would have been very easy for my dad. What you'll find is that a kid who can learn how to DJ from the suburbs, right? Because Amapiano is so big, his parents then pay for him to go on a trip overseas. He hasn't done any of the groundwork like us or anything else. And he becomes a big name in UK and London and everything else. And because our media is so biased towards anything that has the mark of international success, that person will now get a bigger platform than the local guys who are trying. And what we don't want to create is a new shortcut for people to circumvent the groundwork that needs to be done. Because for DJ Sbu to build up that brand so that he goes to America and people know that he's a DJ, DJing didn't just come about. You understand? You needed to. There was barriers of entries. There were ways in which you entered the DJing world. You know what I mean? You had to carry crates for other DJs first. You know what I mean? You had to fight to get a set. You know, to get a residency slot at a certain venue.
But these kids don't have to struggle that way.
They don't have to struggle that way, right? But we still need to find ways in which they can earn their way in, because that's the only way we can make sure that it's sustainable. Because we need to protect the sustainability of it. The reason why I
But
find
when
that,
we're protecting it, what if it sounds
like
for me,
gatekeeping.
it's like gatekeeping.
Yeah, gatekeeping is good. Let me tell you why. Hip hop is celebrating 50 years today, American hip hop, but it's owned by corporations. It's not owned by black people. BET, Black Entertainment Television, is owned by Viacom. Viacom is Sumner Redstone, Paramount Pictures. So it's owned by people who are in the media business, right? To fund basically. I guess they're in the media space to fund the expansion of Jewish media in general. Like that is the main thing, and that comes from the Second World War. Anti-Semitism. United Nations trying to make sure that we don't have another world war that is based on some religious violence, right? So there's a bias towards any of that. There's a bias towards saying anything that is a criticism of like the Israeli government is anti-Semitism, right? And the only reason why there's that bias is because there's a dominance of that sort of media, and they've got their place in the media space, and they're a minority group. Now, if you look at us as Africans, if you look at African Americans as a minority group, they don't have ownership of the media space to protect themselves like the Jewish community in America is able to protect themselves, and that's why they weren't able to protect the ownership of hip hop. And if you look at hip hop and how much value it's created, Hennessy is a popular brand today. It's one of the biggest brands. The guy who owns Hennessy is the richest man in Europe. Who promotes Hennessy? It's hip hop. It's hip hop culture. And therefore, we haven't been able to use this hip hop culture to beneficiate our creations. We haven't been able to use hip hop culture to market Patrice Motsepe's gold, or his minerals, or his cell phone network, or his time bank. You understand? We haven't been able to use hip hop to actually empower black businesses. And that is the one thing that Kwaito must not do. We mustn't allow what happened with American hip hop to happen with Amapiano. And because we've been able to keep our independence.
It's already happening. That's why I'm saying they must go out there. Me being out there, I'm already seeing people are taking ownership of this genre, Epumek Aslami. People who've never set foot in South Africa.
Yeah.
There's even American hip hop DJs who've switched, who are now playing Amapiano in clubs in America. I'm telling you, because we're not there. But big up to the South Africans who are there, the Zimbabweans who are there, and some Nigerian DJs, Ghanaian DJs who play both Afrobeats and Amapiano who are representing it in clubs. But there's less of us there. There's less of us so much so that not only DJs, even the promoters, business owners making money out of it, etc. It's people who most of them, they have never set foot in South Africa, but they're eating off of a genre from South Africa.
Are you basically saying that there's South African DJs who've got American visas who are sitting here at home and not doing the work that they should be doing, and right now you've got Americans playing Amapiano and basically taking ownership of our culture without us being there to protect it?
Yo, bro, I did almost 20 shows in 3 months. more than 80% of those shows, it's people who organize those shows, it's people who've never set foot in South Africa. And big up to them, they're seeing a hustle. But because we're not there.
Okay, you see, because the way I was seeing it, right, was
so they're giving me a check,
yeah,
and I'm thinking, I'm supposed to be these guys. I'm the one who understands this culture. I'm the one who gave birth to some of the guys, the genre before this that gave birth to Amapiano, which was Kwaito. And I'm a businessman. Why aren't I the one who's organizing these shows? I'm just being given a check to come. I'm getting a crowd there for them. They're eating off of it. They've never set foot in South Africa. And then I'm like, where are my South Africans? Where are the business people from South Africa, promoters who are supposed to be eating off of this
we're
and
out
also
here scrambling for
and
crumbs
selling it
in South Africa.
properly?
We're out here scrambling for crumbs in South Africa.
That's what I
calling
mean.
each other gatekeepers,
So it doesn't
calling each other, blocking each other, calling each other Chris Excel. I'm just saying.
What I'm trying to say is, it doesn't only have to be artists. Even Nani, like Tina, we need to be there organizing these shows and letting them know, good guys, when you do it this way, this is how it looks. This is because we understand the cultures. It's like you now all of a sudden going to America now, you're doing Afrobeats shows. You will do them and people will come. The African community will come there and they'll support you. But you've probably never set foot in Nigeria.
I've never.
You're not part of, the creation of this Afrobeats culture, but you're eating off of it. So for me, what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of people who are already eating off of it. Exactly what you're talking about, what happened to hip-hop is already happening to Amapiano. And for a lot of people, their fear is some people look at it as a phase. Some promoters are saying, this thing might just die down in the next year or two. Let's make as many shows as we can make now. Who else is hot? Who else is? And everybody's just watching YouTube. Everybody's watching what's the next hot thing. They're watching the numbers and can you get us that? Some of them are even trying to go through me to be like, yo, when we go to these artists directly, they're charging us about $20,000. They're asking for about $15,000. That's why I know a lot of them, we're not bringing them here. But maybe through you, because you know them, can you get that Subanbani for like less than half the price of that? And I'm like, yo, is this what's already happening? So, Tina Sihleli, like us. So I'm like, no, I have to go back home and tell these ninjas that, guys, and I'm not saying let's go gatekeep this culture. But
maybe we should.
But at least let us go overseas and be the ones.
I think we should gatekeep.
Because in Dona they just want the stage and the mic. They're still young, a lot of them. Let's go out there, at least protect the business. As a Makrotman. You know what I mean?
Milkshake, as about DJ
Exactly.
DJ Capital.
It doesn't matter whether like us, we hip hop or house.
Yeah.
This thing is South African music.
But
let's go out there
a
and
lot of the
represent it
DJs that
properly.
have been playing hip hop and house right now, they are finding it difficult to gig locally. So maybe they are the ones who should be going international.
Not maybe, they are the ones.
Okay, then they're the
South
ones.
African.
Yeah, they're the ones. My fear was that the inexperienced, wet behind the ear guy goes to America and hasn't built an audience for himself here first. When he comes back to South Africa, he might not find an audience that he can develop and grow with over time. And over there, it's like, you can be blown by the wind.
No, for me, I look at shout outs to Uncle Waffles. I look at a young person like Uncle Waffles. When she started out, some people were saying, yeah, but she did not hustle like us, understood or learned the art of DJing. She's not really a DJ. She just, guys, there is no one formula of getting into this industry. Other people will get in this way, other people will get in that way. But as long as you are willing to learn as you go. When I launched this thing, I was not a businessman. I was an entertainer. I was not even an energy drink guy. When Kanye West launched his fashion line, he was not a businessman. He was an artist. He was a creative. But eventually he evolved into becoming a businessman by default, but he learned along the way. So I kind of look at Uncle Waffles now, the sets that she's doing now. And by the way, big up to her. She's filling up venues. I mean, I saw her fill up three venues or something. She just came. She's doing her thing, by the way. So what I'm trying to say is, uzofundela khona Nota. And it doesn't mean if you've never been to the hood, you've never struggled, you never understood the culture of DJing, now you must not DJ. No, it's okay. Let these kids come from 4 ways, from wherever. Oksala, they are South Africans. Let them go out there. They learn as they go. For me, I look at it that way.
Okay. I think maybe my concern is that, those who might get it easier might not be that way inclined to give back, because I've seen a lot of people getting a lot of opportunities and not give back. That has been the most heartbreaking experience that I've had in the industry, because I've always seen myself as someone who every single opportunity I get, I try and give back 10 more, and I felt like I haven't seen that enough within our industry with enough people. And it inculcates a culture where everybody's just me, 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 me. I just need to look out for myself because everybody else is looking out for themselves. And then we don't build a community. And that's how we lose direction. That's how, we get co-opted. That's how our mission gets perverted into something that it's not. I mean, right now, taking it back to this hip-hop conversation that we're having, American hip-hop and the lack of control in hip-hop, there's not one rapper that can say, okay, guys, let's stop the violence, stop all the killing, no more gunfire. It's a ceasefire for the next 7 days, no bullets, no guns, nothing. There's not one rapper. Jay-Z can't say stop the killing. Kanye West can't say stop the killing. And once we get our culture to a point where even those people who founded the culture cannot have an influence on the people who've adopted it, then we've lost our way. Then, it's just a commercial thing. It's an exercise that other people use to make money. Meanwhile, real human beings are sacrificing their lives to build this whole entire culture, hoping that they'll be able to build generational wealth for themselves, hoping that they'll be able to buy their families out of generational poverty. And in the end, they just get exploited by the corporate machine that doesn't care about human beings and human lives and human suffering. The corporate machine just cares about making more money, and having less people to feed with that money. So that's my biggest concern. So I hear what you're saying, and obviously, I haven't thought of it in the way that you're putting it, and the opportunity is being taken by other people if we don't take it. And you're very right in saying that. So maybe it's about, okay, fine. How do we then conscientize people to say, if you're going to come into this culture or South African music and entertainment and our culture, how do you do it so that we can preserve it and so that it also creates generational wealth for our country's people in general, you know what I mean? So that we can all participate in it. I feel like I should be able to participate in the generational wealth created by Miriam Makeba, by Brahima Sigela, by Lucky Dube. I feel like I should be able to participate and carry that forward.
Because this is a continuation of that.
You understand? And I feel
by
like
Coffee also, he's been a part of
exactly.
it,
So we need to find a way in which we can continue it in a way in which it's not taken away from us, or it's not owned by people.
That's exactly what I mean. But then let's go out there. Let's create these relationships, us as big homies, like what I've been doing. Let's create these relationships. Let's be like, yo, guys, if you do this, this is how people will receive it back home. This is how some people, they couldn't even care less how people receive it. Other people don't even care about that genuineness because they're also behind the scenes. Nobody knows who's putting together what show. As long as it's got whoever, people fill up the clubs. People are coming for the sound. And you've got then a certain percentage that come to the shows who don't even know who Sbu is, but they were coming to the shows for the music. Because what I love with music lovers all over the world, with what this internet thing has done, people create playlists. And some of these platforms, DSPs, they create playlists on your behalf if you don't create your own playlist. And people just listen to that. And then they just start vibing to the sound. And that's how Afrobeat started breaking. And that's what's happening to Amapiano now. That's how it's breaking overseas. People are just loving this sound. Yo, they can't even know what the words are saying, but they're just loving this thing. And then they get introduced to a whole new world of these. And a lot of them are even shocked that Amapiano songs are doing about 10 million views, about 20 million views, about 30 million views. I mean, I've heard people who are like, wow, where have I been? I've heard people who just literally discovered Amapiano when I was there.
Who just landed
And then
now.
they started listening to it. And just in a few days, they're like, where have I been? You know? And some of them, they're interchanging it with Afrobeats and Amapiano. And what I love about the South African, let me say African DJs, whether they're from Zim, Ghana, Niger, Mzansi, who are based in America, I like the fact that they're interchanging the sounds between Afro House, Afro beats and Amapiano. They play all of it. And big up to them.
Oh, so
But it's
they're
not only
open
them.
format DJing.
Yes.
So it's now African music DJs.
It's African music. That's what I mean. Now we are playing. Now African music is international. It just needs the right ambassadors and the right people who understand the business side of it, who come from the culture, to go out there and be the ones that sort of benefit out of it.
I think what we need to now is that we need our own African streaming platform where rock music is world music, where pop music is world music, where classical music is world music, and where Kwaito is Kwaito, where Afrobeats is Afrobeats, where what is this? a Gengaton is Gengaton, where Amapiano is Amapiano. And our genres are categorized. Instead of us falling into the world music category, you know what I mean? Instead of us competing to be in that one category where all the Africans are then just put together at the Grammys, you know, for that one award. I think we need to start looking at how do we ensure that we are allocating capital at protecting the distribution of our cultural production as Africans. The African Union needs to step in here, you know, because this is all our cultural heritage. South Africa, our South African government also needs to step in because of online content, you know, we're the biggest market on the continent for that. And the consumption in South Africa is higher per capita than anywhere else on the African continent. So that's something that we need to focus on, because we cannot now be creating all of this content and you're saying all of these views, they're getting all these views. All those views are going to YouTube. They're not going to Costa Titch. All those views are going to YouTube. They're not going to KO and Blackie and Youngster and Onsete. All those views are going to these platforms, you know, and this is exactly what Drake was complaining about. Drake says, it's nice to know that I've got 75 billion streams, you know, on this Spotify platform. But all these people that are going to Spotify, they're going there to listen to me. And what do you guys give me? You give me a plate to tell me that you've got 1 billion streams. No, give me a bonus. Give me something to tell me that, listen, Spotify made this much money this year, and Drake, you brought this much audience, and because you brought us this much audience and we made this much money, and that's what Universal is now investigating. Lucian Grange penned a letter. They're investigating new ways to pay artists based on their contribution to bringing audience to these streaming platforms. And they're investigating that with Tidal, which shows the involvement of hustlers, the involvement of insiders within our industry is very important. It's very important for us to have a DJ Sbu within the energy drink business. You understand? Or within the FMCG space, because we know that a lot of brands that are in the FMCG, they're the ones that sponsor our events and everything else. And we need to have a foot in the door as well. We need to have someone who's part of the decision makers, so that when these streaming platforms are now deciding, okay, this is how we're going to pay artists, Jay-Z can say, hey, I've got Tidal. I can speak on behalf of my niggas, my brothers, the Drakes of this world, you know? And I always say that because I've got Tidal, I don't like the way Apple Music and Spotify are paying or exploiting us. I want us to try a new way and benefit the artists in a better way and pay them even better. And if we don't participate in that space, we don't participate in these spaces, we won't be able to control them and we won't be able to influence them.
Do you remember, sorry to come in the, finish your point.
No, that was a point.
Do you remember, I think it was maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, the construction companies at some point, I think they were fined.
Yes, the construction cartel, yes.
Yeah, the cartel, where they had come together to monopolize the industry.
Yes.
That's what a lot of artists, hip-hop artists in the States have been complaining about all these years, but that's what these record companies have done.
They did.
Because that's what, you need to remember also, these DSPs, they're owned by the record company.
Yes, they are.
Go look at who owns all of these platforms.
So Apple Music
it's them
was started by Jimmy Iovine, who's part of Universal Interscope. Jimmy Iovine Beats Audio. That was started by them. The guys, Daniel Ek, okay, he's from Sweden. But either way, Swedish pop music was very big, and all the biggest Swedish writers were writing for all the US pop stars, the Britney Spears, the NSYNCs, and all of that stuff. Yeah. So they were trying to find a new way to monetize music. And the record companies bought into this company at its inception before they gave them deals, you know? So they own shares in Spotify, they own shares in all these companies, they own shares in all these streaming platforms. But when you look at now...
Okay, let's fact check, yeah? Continue.
Yeah, but when you look at now... No, you can check it, fact check it. I mean,
okay, let's start with Spotify as you continue. It's owned by a variety of different stakeholders. Yeah. Majority of the company's shares are owned by... its founders, Martin Lorenzon, who has on January 3rd, 2023, owned 10.9% of Spotify's total shares. Daniel Ek who owns 7.3% of the company's total shares. Sorry, let me just open the article and read further. Sorry, I'll just hold your point there. Don't get absent-minded. Despite it being publicly traded company, the majority of ownership of Spotify remains with its two co-founders, Daniel Ek and Martin Lorenzon. Founded in 2006, it has since grown to become one of the largest music streaming platforms in the world, with close to 460 million monthly active users and over 190 million paying subscribers. Spotify has become one of the major players, if not the major player in streaming landscape. The company went public in 2018 and its current market cap is around $15 billion, a figure that has plummeted from its 5-year peak of 69.3 billion in February 2001. And so these were its initial owners, right? The two guys, Daniel Ek and Martin Lorenzon. You've just heard the other one only owns 7-point-something%. The other one only owns 10.9%.
Of 15 billion.
Yeah, and I understand that. But who owns the majority? It's the record companies. So I'm trying to read further. So that obviously we stick to the facts. Continuing with your point.
So I mean, all these record companies had to invest. They got some equity to sign those deals. They sold some of the equity. I know that I've got a licensing deal with Sony, and I got a payout from this the sale of some of their Spotify shares that they sold. But aside from that, you've got 3 companies: Apple, Amazon, and Spotify now, that are controlling the audio distribution for the whole world. Doesn't matter which record company you're in. If you're in any of those record companies, your music is being played on all those streaming platforms. We've got a challenger from China, TikTok now, which is trying to have less of a bias from the major recording companies' music, and has even started an experiment where they stop recommending music from the majors in Australia. So just in Australia right now, TikTok is not recommending any of the major label artists as an experiment to see how much of that contributes to people actually using music, or whether they are inclined to use music from independent artists or, royalty-free music as well. So that little experiment is going to prove whether these catalogs that these majors have been able to get all these deals with these streaming platforms are actually that valuable in this new music market. And the way in which these tech companies control everything, right? The record companies have now become irrelevant. The record companies are not doing any of the artist discovery. They're not doing any of the artist development.
They wait to see you have a buzz.
Yeah.
And they jump in.
But you're having that buzz on TikTok. Right? Yeah. You're already there. So you're already distributed. You're already established on the platforms where people are going to be consuming your content. So what you have now is that you've got all these spaces, and you've got less of a chance of actually making it unless these gatekeepers approve of you. Unless Apple approves of you, you're not getting streams on their platforms. Unless Spotify approves of you, you're not getting streams on their platforms. Unless Amazon Music approves of you, you're not getting streams on their platforms. Unless TikTok approves of you, you're not getting played on their platform. And if you're not on these 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 platforms, you basically don't have a career anymore. And that is the danger of now allowing this media consolidation that is happening within the streaming landscape. And if you look at that danger and you look at the potential growth of African music and think that its distribution is all controlled on foreign-owned media platforms, it's all controlled on all these foreign-owned streaming platforms, then African music is really in danger. Because once you take away all these streaming platforms and you take away all our connection to them, you can actually take away all our livelihoods. And right now we're encouraging African artists to be creating all this music and art, but we don't actually have an infrastructure. And that infrastructure can disappear overnight.
Yeah, it can.
Overnight.
It's like even with this.
Overnight.
Like where we are on YouTube can just switch off.
But it's not even just about YouTube. What about all those companies that had moved to Russia? What about you as DJ Sbu? You're saying, okay, Roman Abramovich, his company is doing very well. You took your money, you put 100,000 rands in Russian stock, and then all of a sudden there's sanctions. That 100,000 rands that you put in Russian stocks disappeared because of the sanctions. Like, it's gone. You can't call America and say, yo, 100,000 yam. I know that Putin is having a war with you guys in Ukraine. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm not involved.
Just reminded me of the Olympic champion, man, whose money just disappeared.
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt.
You understand what I'm saying?
Story,
so it can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen. And even with Usain Bolt's case, these investors, you need to know that any investment, you can lose a part or all of your money. You know what I mean? It's a risk. He took that risk. When he made those investments, he took that risk, and you can risk losing everything. So we need to invest in building platforms that will ensure that we are not being distributed by Apple. We're not being distributed by Spotify. We're not being distributed by Amazon only. We need to have our own African platforms that make sure that our distribution of our cultural production happens in places that we control and we have ownership on as well. Because, I mean, just looking at the explosion of Amapiano, right? And how it's bringing new audiences to YouTube because they've got now new music to listen to. Those audiences are going to stay with YouTube. When the new genre is on, they're going to be there. The same way all those Abo Little Pump and everything else were bringing audiences to YouTube when they were hot. Those audiences are still there. Where's Little Pump now? You know, the same thing can happen to our South African artists. The same thing can happen to our Amapiano. The same thing can happen to our Kwaito. The same thing can happen to all our cultural production if we do not control, you know, the distribution. If we don't control, if the means of production now is this distribution network, you know, you produce value by distributing your music to as many people and allowing them to have access to this content. And this means of production is now controlled by foreign actors who don't have any inclination to, benefit our industry or beneficiate us in any way. Then, at any point in time where it does not suit them to have our content on their platforms, they're going to deplatform us. So we need to protect ourselves from that.
That's why they can easily deplatform Tate or Kanye West. To add on to what you're saying, a Rolling Stones article here says streaming platforms are keeping more money from artists than ever before. Last year, which is obviously 2019, it's a 2020 article, driven by Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Pandora, Tidal, and other streaming platforms, but dig deeper and serious questions for artists. It's a long article, but okay, let me just see here. Warner Music Group announcement suggested that the average digital streaming royalty rate amongst that company's artists is around only 25%. The thing is, because we have not been exposed to the technology on how they're making this money and how are they basing it out of this number of streams equals to this amount of money. It's only the IP, it's only the intelligence that they know, Bona, because they created these platforms. So
they base it on just going back. So we use the PPD averages. That's so like, you know, if the average
simplify
PPD,
that,
so that's the price to the distributor, right? The PPD. So we use the PPD average. Let's say if an average album is 60 Rand to the price to this distributor. So the distributor is the person that's sending it to all the stores, right? The wholesale price. If I'm giving my CD to Macro and then everyone's going to stock it from Macro, right? At 60 Rand. How do I calculate what that 60 Rand actually equates to from a revenue perspective? And the amount of streams, right, at the per stream royalty rate that gets me to that 60 Rand then constitutes a sale of one album.
But that's what I mean. How do we know with that amount of, because they're telling us that amount.
Yes. Okay.
It's not like
So in terms of yes. So there's a pool of money that is generated, and then they divide that amongst the pool.
Like for instance, this article says there's more money that is being kept away from artists now than ever before.
That's true. And
because
the
we
reason
also
why
don't have that intelligence.
Well, we
don't understand what's going on behind the scenes.
The layman does not understand, but I've got an understanding.
How did you guys come to this figure?
So that's the reason.
1 million streams constitute to this amount of money.
So what
if 1 million streams actually constitute to 10 times this money?
Yeah.
What if you guys are lying to us?
Yeah. So the way they calculate that is that they've got a general pool of the revenue that they make, and then 70% of that revenue goes to paying out the artists' royalties, and then 30% stays with the platform. So out of that pool of that 70%, they then divide it up according to the average streams generated. I doesn't need to tell her.
Sorry, continue.
She'll text him.
I miss you. Be quiet.
So they average it out based on that pool from that 70% of the revenue that they collect in general, and then they divide that amongst all the artists. The thing is that is unfair though in this system is that Drake, right, is the reason why people go to the streaming platform in the first place. And then while they're there, then they see DJ Sbu songs and they listen to DJ Sbu songs.
It's like somebody who brings people to the store.
You understand what I'm saying?
They end up buying
understand.
fire, but they came for other things.
You understand? But now, you understand? But now should Drake be paid as much for bringing people to the store when he brings people to the store who end up staying and buying other things? And that's what I'm saying, and that's where the difficulty becomes. It becomes unfair on those artists because once their popularity wanes, they don't take that audience back. They don't take it with them. That audience stays with the platform. And are they being paid a commensurate rate for the contribution that they're making by bringing those audiences?
You've just reminded me of an interesting point that Megan Stallion.
Tory
Lanez.
Yeah, Tory Lanez.
Wasn't he speaking recklessly because he was dropping game? Said something like this. And also, I don't know if I can play it to the microphone with him. There's going to be copyright issues. But from the horse's mouth, he actually brought up a very, very interesting point. Listen to this. Nah? It adds on to what you're saying. It's an interesting point. Listen.
When a label comes to sign you, that you're usually really popping. You're popping enough that people are looking at you and they're probably starting to kind of pay you for things, and they get you at that point. And usually artists sign for 4 to 5 albums, and when you sign for those 4 to 5 albums, by the third album, we don't want to really hear you no more because we heard everything that you got to give. It's very rare for artists to be able to get out of that situation in the first place. Their best songs came out in the majority of time that they were with the label. So all that money, all that creative stuff that you're doing, it just went straight to a label. Now, at that point, when you're about to sign, you're popping enough to just keep going. It's just, you just got to learn how to use everything that the label uses. The label doesn't hire people that they employ or whatever cases, they outsource people that you can employ. Right. And once you learn that, it's like the world is yours. When a label comes to sign you, that you're
interesting point, right?
And especially with
it happens with everyone. Some of my it was my label. Some of my greatest songs was around that era. But there's no guarantee you're still gonna hit as big as you did then.
You understand?
And the majority of the work that you did then was with the label. All of that money is going to these guys.
You understand? And that's the biggest thing that, I've been fighting a lot of these artists that are too keen to sign to these majors and say, yo, guys, hear it from me, right? Hear it from me, right? And I'm saying this not in an arrogant way. I want people to learn from this. The top 2 selling singles in South African music history were released by my record company, number 1 and number 2. Okay, 2 million copies and 1 million copies.
What I'm gonna do? Yeah. I'm gonna put in Sis Branda Fassi here. Obviously, that was before the streaming era, because our argument also won't be solved.
Yeah,
but it was before the streaming era.
No, it's not.
And then I'm gonna put in Zahara here.
Yeah, no, you can.
But anyway, continue.
No, you can.
Streaming era.
No, you can. It's not streaming.
Continue,
it's not. It doesn't come from streaming. It came from CRBTs.
What I was saying, it was before the streaming era.
Yeah, before the streaming era. So
in the streaming era.
So even outside.
No. You can't compare Zahara, Branda Fassi, Nenyas Fela, Nelona before the.
I'm not talking about errors. I'm talking about sales.
No, and that's what I'm talking about.
And
sales.
I'm telling you how.
No, you can't.
Let me tell you why. Because the sales are not based. These are called revenue equivalent sales. So those sales factor in downloads. They counter in streams. They counter in ringback tones. So if you count the revenue that we made.
So what I'm saying, which is also, it's like comparing apples with bananas. It's unfair to compare the two, because then there was also not a lot of platforms or revenue or ways of creating extra revenue with how big these artists were or how big that music was. It was actual physical sales.
Yeah, no, that I get. But now we're talking about this era. I mean, Zahara's debut album, that's 2012. Questa's debut album is 2010. You understand? So that's the same era. Zahara and Questa come from the same era. So when I say that the best-selling songs from a revenue equivalent, what I'm trying to say is this: Inyas Felangawe, the size of it, the amount of money that was made off of that song being sold is more money than any other song is made off of being sold. I'm not talking about sync deals. I'm talking about that. Now, that is it's bigger than that. Now you need to understand that
that was before the streaming era.
Yeah, that was before the streaming era. So now you need to understand that if you've been able to do even bigger numbers than the Vulindlela and everything else within a major. And I am the person who's done those numbers. And I'm saying, do not sign with these majors, because with all those numbers, right, for every 1 million rand, right, that I make, they make 5. And it hurts me every time I make 1 million because they make 5. You understand? Every time I make 1 million, I cry because I know they made 5. You understand what I'm saying? Imagine crying every time you make 1 million. That shouldn't be the case. And that will be the case if you sign to these deals.
That's a quotable.
You understand what I'm saying?
Imagine cry every time you make 1 million.
Fana.
That would be Oprah.
But like, young Khalis are riding, because I'm thinking,
making more.
I am the person who was in studio, making sure that the songs are written and everything else.
But you did the deal. You signed, bro.
You understand? And we had no choice back then. But then today, the kids, they've got a choice. I signed that deal, right? From the effective date is 20th May, 2013. You understand? That's 10 years ago. It's 10 years ago. And I'm telling kids, the deal that I made 10 years ago was so that you don't have to make those deals today. I made that deal so you don't have to go through that.
That's what this boy is saying, Taylor.
That's what we're trying to say. And every time we see these kids trying to think that they know better than us who've experienced this hardship, we want you to be rich. I want you to be richer than I've ever dreamed of ever being. I want the kids to be richer than me. Because you know what? If you guys are rich, then I will never be poor because you'll always take care of me. You understand what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So there's no reason. There's no reason.
The kids also, for them to continue with the hustle, they need the dough, you know?
They need the dough, yes. But what I'm trying to tell you is that this dough that they're giving you is worth nothing compared to what you are actually worth. You're being lied to, you're being conned. You're being conned. These people are lying to you. These people don't come to your communities. And you know what's the saddest thing about it? Is that most of these kids, they sign with white companies.
But let me tell you what I know now. What I know now, I would sign a deal with an upfront check, big check. Obviously, I'd probably negotiate with most of it doesn't become recoupable. It's going to be impossible for it to be not recoupable.
Yeah.
It has to be recoupable.
Yeah.
But they know good they're going to recoup it anyway somehow because they're going to be holding on to your masters. Even if the deal says up until they've been able to recoup that amount of money, however long it takes them. So because of that, Mina, what I would do now, because I'm a kid, I need to hustle, I need to go build my brand. And I know good music is one of many other ways that musicians in 2023 are making money. And it's not even if we look at the most richest or wealthiest or the most successful artists, when you look at their estates, music pretty much is not the biggest revenue earner compared to all these other things that they're doing, the real estate investments and all these
No, it is.
So no.
No, it's not. It is.
It's not.
It's a lie. I know it's a fallacy.
Let me finish my point.
Yeah.
My point is a kid, there is no, the company is risking.
Yeah.
The kid might just be a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
And they've already given this kid $5 million.
Yeah.
Now I'm always talking international numbers.
Yeah. Well, there are South African acts that have gotten $5 million.
Is it who?
I can't say.
$5 million, that's like 80 million rands.
Yeah. I can't say.
No, you have to say.
No, I can't say because
Who got $5 million?
No, that's too much money and it's hidden behind NDAs. But yeah, over time, over albums, yes, dollars.
Are you gonna tell me off camera?
I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Pick up to them.
No,
pick up to them.
No, it's not because imagine a kid who owes $5 million. You're a slave.
No, but you're not a slave.
You are a slave.
Let me say it this way, and this is the point I was trying to drive.
NBA is a slave.
You are not a slave if you took that $5 million and used it to build other assets.
No.
That are bringing in pools of money.
No one ever builds assets that are building in pools of money.
There's a lot of people who do that.
Who? Which asset? He didn't. What asset has he built? Jay-Z was given shares. No.
Do you know how much real estate
I know.
Kanye owns?
No. I'm not talking about Kanye's real estate. I'm talking about Jay-Z. Jay-Z was given equity in Rock Nation, which, wait. He didn't build Rock Nation. He didn't start, he's not the founder of any of these companies. Yeezy is a founder. When we compare Jay-Z and Kanye West, we're looking at two different people. We're talking at people who are given shares in companies and people who founded companies from the ground up.
It doesn't matter, but the money they got from music, they were able to build other assets that are bringing in more money than what music is bringing.
No, it's not the money. So you can't tell me that.
I'm talking about a kid. No, a kid needs the money though.
No, but the things that we love taking certain things.
You're a slave only if you're only gonna do music. Then
I hear what you're saying, and I'm saying that that's the fallacy that they're giving. The slave comes from the fact that NBA YoungBoy, right, is a slave to a record company. They make $100 million a year off of him on YouTube, and he's stuck on house arrest. He's got an ankle bracelet. He cannot even leave his house.
But that's what I mean. If you and your manager and your business manager, your accountant, or whatever your team is, if you guys are able to say, when this money comes, guys, we won't touch it. We will touch it for these reasons. This is what we're going to do with it. And the bulk of it, this is how we're going to invest it. And this is how much these investments will be yielding to us every year. Moving on. Okay. Even if these guys own this catalog for the rest of
So what are Jay-Z's investments?
I mean, I was just making an example.
No, but I'm just saying, what are they?
I don't know what he still has now.
I'll tell you what they are. I'll tell you what they are.
He's no longer with title. He sold it, right?
No, he's still got shares. He's still got equity. He's still got equity. The only important investment that Jay-Z's made, right, is buying equity in Tidal. That's the only one because that one's got a proper influence. He's influencing how artists are going to be paid out within the industry. That is the one investment. When we look at his Rock Nation partnership, his Rock Nation is to lock him into a partnership that will allow him to benefit from a Live Nation's dominance of the industry.
But you can also say he's a slave for
He is. But
he was clever. He took that 100 or whatever.
You can be a highly paid slave.
I understand that.
Now, what I'm trying to say is that when the cops kill, wait, I need to tell you, when the cops kill black people, and then Colin Kaepernick says, I'm putting a knee, and the NFL says, we're firing you as Colin Kaepernick, and then the slave of the NFL, Jay-Z, then says, me as a slave for these people, I'm going to say black people have forgiven these cops, and us as black people, we're going to go back to the NFL, and Rihanna is going to perform, even though she says that she's not going to perform at the NFL, and she's standing with Kaepernick.
I hear you.
So now what I'm trying to say is that the capital, the money, we put so much emphasis on the money, and we don't look at the actual value. We put so much emphasis on the money that Jay-Z made, and we don't look at the value that he created and the investment, and then we say, oh, this money that makes him not a slave. No, he's still a slave to the system, and he's still using his fame and his influence, right, to benefit those people who actually have the capital. And when we look at the money that these people are making, we're looking at that as the value that they're creating. No, the money is the minuscule part. If they're paying you an amount, it means that you've got a greater value. The value is in the fame that these rappers have. Now, that's where the power is. The influence. I'm getting back to that kid.
No guarantee this kid will become a Jay-Z even.
But
there's very high possibilities this kid is going to be a one-hit wonder.
That's fine. That's fine.
But you already have a check for $5 million. There's
what I'm
a whole
trying to
lot
say,
of other things you can do with that $5 million.
So there was no guarantee.
To create generational wealth.
There was no guarantee that Nelson Mandela was going to become a leader. There was no guarantee. But what I'm trying to say is that when he became a leader, right, he didn't then think, okay, fine, let me be the most belligerent leader. He chose moral higher ground because he knew that other people need to benefit from his leadership. Other people need to benefit from our leadership as well.
But other people also can benefit with that $5 million that this kid can make.
Jay-Z cannot stop the guys from shooting each other, and because he sold himself out. Kanye West cannot stop the guys from shooting each other because he sold himself out. What I'm trying to say is this: if we build hip-hop as black people and it destroys our community and we are unable to stop it and we become billionaires, then we have failed.
But what I'm trying to say is for this kid, with the money they can get, if they good advice, what if this kid is like, Koji, who's this time who's got kids who play basketball? He's their manager also. He's a dad-ager. Mom-ager, dad-ager.
Steph Curry's dad.
No, not Steph Curry's dad. He also has got a brand also, the B brand, something like that, with the B's. The time I was very outspoken, he's tall. His kids are in basketball, man.
I don't know. He's on your algorithm. Levon Ball.
Is it Lavar Ball? Is it Lavar Ball?
I don't know. We'll Google it.
Guys, please put a comment there in the comment section. Lavar Ball, I think.
Yeah.
Like you've got people like that around you who care about you and your family.
Yeah.
And Abatala who are able to say, let's say, yes, these guys will own your catalog, but let's take this $5 million.
But what did you say?
And go and...
What did you say?
I have not even finished my point.
No, I'm saying family.
But even if it's not family, what if you got a good manager though?
I get.
You got a good manager.
So we need to look at our reality, Sbuda. In our community, we don't have family structures where families have been taught how to manage wealth. So we haven't done that work. So what happens is
but things are different. Caesar right now has got a TK.
Yeah, but that's generational. Caesar is a cheese boy. No, he's not.
Yes,
he's a
because
cheese
we work
boy.
hard so that our kids
No,
become cheese,
but what I'm
not cheese boys.
my father did not know about the entertainment industry. I could not get that
But
information.
Caesar's father knows about the entertainment industry.
What I'm trying to say is this. Is that that's an advantage. And what I'm trying to say is that we should be creating the new Caesars. My children should be like the next Caesars. The children of Kid X's children should be the
Look
next
at how
Caesars.
successful Casper is.
At the same
part
time,
of that is because he's got a good manager. But that's not his father, that's not his brother. It's Tilly. Brilliant brother behind the scenes. Brilliant business person.
No. I refuse to believe that. I've got personal reasons, but also business reasons. So what I'm trying to say is that anyone can get lucky and get successful and get famous.
There's a lot of kids out there with the Tillies.
No.
I actually even think right now, this is me observing from a distance, I think Uncle Waffles has got great management.
I think she's lucky.
I think so.
I think she's lucky.
And there's a whole lot of others with great
she's
managers,
lucky.
bro.
I don't think that they have management. I think that they're lucky. They went viral.
We can't take that upfront check.
No, we cannot.
And use that money to go create generational wealth.
We can
and
never.
even go build schools, Amakas.
We can never. Let me tell you why.
Whatever passion,
as soon as you take that upfront check,
back.
as soon as you take that upfront check, you have cut yourself off from generational wealth because you have taken the minimum value for the work that you're producing. The label's job is to make a profit off of you. They've got a profit motive.
I know that and I understand that.
But what you're creating is cultural production. That cultural production, our culture, is not a commodity. That's the thing, is that the Americans, they created the recording industry to commodify cultural works. Those cultural works were created by American descendants of slaves who were stripped away from the root of their cultural production. So that cultural production that happens in America is not of the same value as the cultural production that happens here. The cultural production that happens here is the cultural production that comes from the artists are the credo motors of today, our artists. So about credo motor are what artists were back in those days, right? So the artists that we have today, right, are the descendants of those people. These people carry our traditions, our history, our customs as a people, as African people. This is how our customs are produced. So now, because we are now putting ourselves in this recording industry, which comes from America, we're losing the purpose of our cultural production and what it is actually for. And we shouldn't lose that just because we're now making this something that can be commercialized or has got a commercial impetus. Yes, we can borrow it to them. You understand? We can allow them to use our cultural production, put it on these streaming platforms and access it, but we need to maintain ownership. And we can still derive value while maintaining ownership. All I'm saying is that of the deals that they've got to offer, they've got offers where you can maintain your ownership, and then they've got deals where you give them the ownership. And us as Africans, because we are the children of Eve, we have got the original gene. We cannot commodify our cultural production because we are the gatekeepers of the world's cultures. We're the gatekeepers of all the world's cultures.
Coming from the hood with a buzzing track.
Yes.
Label is offering me $5 million. I'm broke, bro.
Unfortunately,
I'm 21 years old.
Unfortunately, you're broke.
I think I've got good management. We've been grinding it out.
And that's why we need to do work. That's why we need to do work.
And I've got $5 million on the table.
And that's why.
And I'd give the advice to the kid and say, kid, take it.
And that's how you advise your kids to sell themselves out. And that's why
selling yourself out.
I'm telling you,
it depends.
It will never. It will never. There's no way.
It depends on what. Listen.
There's no way a kid with $5 million know what to do with $5 million.
I'm talking about management. I'm talking about.
Okay, where does the manager get $5 million?
I'm talking about support.
Where does the manager? Where I get that, but who is a person who's getting $5 million for the first time will never manage it well. Never.
But you've got managed LaVar Ball's kids, bro.
Okay, the LaVar Ball was in the NBA. He got $5 million. He had the Jewish managers that knew how to manage that. I'm talking about a kid from Ekasi. There's no one in his bloodline. That's what I mean.
I just made you an example.
Yes,
Tilly, bro.
I'm talking about there's no one in Tilly's bloodline who had $5 million when they started.
Exactly, but look at what they're doing.
They don't have $5 million right now.
No, they don't.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Give you an example. They've got a successful business going.
Okay,
him and his artists.
They've got fame.
Together.
They've got fame. They've got fame.
But they're able to monetize it well.
They've got fame.
But they're able to monetize it well.
Fame is easily monetizable.
No, it's not easy.
It's easily.
How many people are famous who are broke, who've been broke during the lockdown? How many people, millions of followers, they were sitting during the lockdown, they didn't have 10,000 rands in their bank account?
And that's not because it's not easy.
You can't say it's easily monetized.
That's not because it's not easy.
Not everybody knows how to monetize their fame.
Yeah, not everyone knows exactly. And now that's the thing. And if not everyone knows how to monetize their fame, how do people know how to protect their cultural production? You understand what I'm saying? So the challenge is...
A 21-year-old kid can't think like that,
It's not saying that he can't think like that.
And
what I'm trying to say is that the chances are... I hear you. And I'm saying that there is potential. But the thing is that what are the chances that most people who get that opportunity will not squander it? The chances are very little that most people will not squander it. So what we'll be doing is that we'll be throwing money into creating generational problems. We have a problem today when we've got an artist with the fame of Zola without the discipline and the self-control to be a role model after the fame, to still then pass on everything that he's been able to build to another generation because they see him as someone who's a success story and not as someone who has come and passed their best. And therefore, now we can no longer use him as a tool to give to kids and say, you as a Ekasi kid with dreams, you can make it to these heights. We've got less and less. We've got a DJ Sbu, right, who is sticking out like a sore thumb. You stick out like a sore thumb when we look at your generation of DJs. How many have got platforms that can actually sit down and actually teach people? You need to have credibility, respectability. You needed to keep respectability. You needed to keep yourself out of jail. Not to say that you should have been a criminal, no, but you had to, not to say that we should be praising you for keeping yourself out of jail and keeping yourself away from criminality, but it could have gone that way from the environment that you come from. Etembisa, a lot of black men, when they got frustrated, and life got to them, it would have been very easy to say, let's take this, let's do whatever we need to do. And what I'm trying to say is that taking that 5 million is tantamount to that, because with the environment that we come from is one where we come from lack, and our tendency when we come from lack is to self-sabotage. It's a tendency, and we cannot now think that money will solve that problem. You know what I mean? It's a blessing. Nigeria is rich with oil, but it's cursed with that oil that brings it its riches. There's so many countries that have got mineral wealth. Congo, DRC, the richest country. They're giving them hand over fist for the cobalt that powers our phones and everything else. But look at the poverty of that country. Their wealth has become their curse, and it's because it's being misused. And the knowledge on how to protect that is being kept from the people. We need to work on making sure that the people get that knowledge. We need to democratize that knowledge so that when you say the kid who gets offered the 5 million, I don't have fear, and think, hey, the 5 million is going to end up being a drug addict or something like that. I won't have a fear. I'll know that, okay, the work has been done to educate our people to love themselves enough to protect themselves, to know how to invest in themselves. You know what I mean? And when it comes to the ownership as well, the attitude of ownership, and I like that, we've debated it, because a lot of times, we have this discussion and maybe we agree on something and we don't debate it, and then someone doesn't actually see the depth of the point. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be taking deals. What I'm saying is that one thing you should maintain is ownership. Give yourself the fighting chance of, no matter what, even if it's 20 years from now, you can still control what happens with your work. You know what I mean? You still have the say. The money comes and goes. You make 5 million now, you'll spend it. 20 years from now, you'll have forgotten most of the things that you spent that $5 million on. But if you still have ownership, you still have something of value. And that $5 million won't be your last. At least. You know what I mean? At least.
I think for today we can leave it. That was dope. I missed you, bro.
Thank you so much.
So today we only touched on music.
Yeah.
And I wanted us to have a part 2 with Mensa.
Yeah, no.
I think we'll have that conversation another time. But
no, we must have a part 2 with Mensa.
I think we must have a part 2 also of this, because there's a larger discussion to be had about the music industry. And we need to expand it further. Actually, I think with a live audience and even inviting other guys in the music space, because this music conversation keeps evolving. The amount of knowledge I had and how I did well back in the day with my music, I was even making examples now. But Abu Zahara or Abu Sprenda Fast was way before how things evolved to your era of streaming and all of these things. And a lot of these things, I don't know. I'm learning them now also as I go.
Look, I'll tell you, my biggest success in the streaming era came from A&Ring, because I wasn't involved in the streaming era when it really popped off. So Paris by Q-Mark. He's a DJ from Soweto, almost completely unknown. I signed up their label Cloud9 Music because I wanted to assist Asesa. She's a female rapper from Soweto as well. Begedi Kaslam. Not to say that other Kasis are not looked out for. You know, I've done a lot of work at K1 and I'm just saying because you know how people can be. You know, no, but I've come to your hood, dog. I've come to the East End. So anyway, they had a song called Paris. And that was the top new song on Apple Music last year, 2020, and also the #1 song on South African radio.
2022.
2022, my bad. Top new song on Apple Music for 2022 and also the top song on South African radio for the calendar year of 2022. I know because KO's fans are going to say, no, Sete was #1. No, Sete was #2 for 2022, the calendar year. But obviously Sete is #1 and is going to win a whole lot of summers in a couple of months' time. So, I mean, that's a streaming success. Sete is about to go over 10 times platinum in the streaming era as well. You know, that's a big congratulations for KO and his team. And if he's been able to accomplish that within not only a platinum within the streaming era, but a platinum within the ringback tone era, platinum within the CD era. You know, very few people have been able to achieve that, you know. So shout out to him. And now 2023, it's time for you to get your #1 on the streaming platforms.
You want me to come back and drop music? And that's what a lot of people are saying. I must drop some music. I need to. And I like what Joe Rogan said the other time. He says a lot of us actually put numbers in our lives. We're like, yeah, no, I'm 30 now. I shouldn't be doing 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I thought I would have achieved this by the age 25. Or I'm now 40. I can't do 1, 2, 3, 4. Why are we so fixated with numbers? Like you're a human being, you're breathing, you're alive. Do whatever you still want to do with your life, whatever it is. Unkulunkulu, as long as he still blessed you to wake up in the morning. Do whatever it is.
Can I tell you why I want you to have a #1? Because I feel like your journey is to encourage, especially those people that came from your generation. We need to understand that, Sbuda, our culture that we come from comes from a place of shame, where we were shamed. Your mother taught you to be ashamed of certain things, to train you because she was fearful that if you weren't ashamed of these things, you know, you might endanger yourself. Because as a black child, you know, you are what's supposed to protect the family's generational wealth. So she's supposed to protect you. And our mothers are very fearful. So they protect us with fear. And sometimes that's not helpful because then you go out into the world as a fearful person. When are you not a fearful person? But how many of our brothers have we seen being consumed by fear? Like you've even tried to bring your brother into the light, but you can see that the fear just overcomes them and they're even scared of even their own potential.
Yeah, I hear you. And let me say big up to my brother, Zex Bantwini.
Yeah.
For getting his #1 in his 40s. That was beautiful as well.
You understand?
And I also feel there's still a lot for Mapaputsi, Manda Speaker,
all of them. All of them.
Like, I don't think we should get to a level where we feel like, no, now Vin is still playing, Fresh is still playing, Mosquito is still playing, Cal Cox is pushing 65 now, bro.
And shout out to Scooter.
Cal Cox in 5 years is 70.
Imagine.
He's still rocking gigs and filling up stadiums.
And I just need to give Mosquito a shout out because there was a situation that, you know, I needed him to intervene in, you know, because on social media, you know, a lot of people, they put artists under pressure and artists might say something and they don't understand the effects of what they said, not only on them, but around their peers. And, you know, there was something that, you know, Umaporoso was saying, oh, you're only as good as your last hit. And people then said, oh, you're talking about Heavy K because he hasn't had a hit in a long time. You know what I mean? And then they created something on social media. And Oskiro intervened because he knew that these guys are both my sons in terms of like in the industry. They both come from the school of Kalawa and I cannot allow them to use their social media to destroy each other's legacies. You know what I mean? And they had that conversation and so a beef was averted. It could have ended up being a beef, but a beef was averted there. And another thing that was learned in that whole entire situation is that, no, we cannot tell artists you're only as good as your last hit. So that's Sbuda. We say, Sbuda, Remember when it rained and forget you.
This is my hit. I'm still hot till today.
Yeah.
I'll forever be hot.
You
For as
understand?
long as you're alive, you're even going to die and leave me hot. Because as you get out of your house in that street corner, there's a kid selling MOFAYA. That's my hotness. That comes from the music.
What do we gain
What I
if we
wanna
take
say-
away?
Now,
What do we gain if we take away the history of your accomplishments? What do we gain?
And for me, it's not about me. I'm just making an example of MOFAYA. That's the wealth of opportunities that our music brings. And even if you have not had a number one song, it does not mean that you don't have a career. Dude, I've just gigged 20 shows in 3 months. And international, I just got another tour
With
coming
your
up
hair like
in
that.
the UK. Like
with
this,
your hair
I
like
don't
that.
care.
I must tell my mother that Sbuda with his hair like that, Bampukile America.
I'm going to Europe.
Yeah, my mother's never gonna get me to cut my hair.
I got gigs in Europe like
You must
that.
just know that kids are not gonna cut their hair because of you now.
To the second half of the year.
Abo mama are going
what
to be
I'm trying
complaining.
say is, also, that's a thing. It's a mindset. Somebody tells you, "Uguti, you're as good as your last hit." That's a lie.
Yes.
That is a lie.
It's a lie.
It's totally a lie. And when I make an example of this as well is with the blessings that God gives you, and that's what I was trying to say also with getting the $5 million if you know what to do with it, you can make that last long for generations to come. So my children's children will be very proud that the music that our dad created, it created this. And this is still in the street corners. It's still relevant in, I don't know, whatever year that will be. This
Exactly.
will forever be around.
Exactly.
It'll probably even be bigger than Coca-Cola at some point.
Yeah.
But it came from the music industry. But now let's go back into the music. I wanted to say to you that because you've been loved, and especially South Africans, they're full of love, and the fans. I'm talking about the fans. Siyabonga. Nisithandile, nisisapotile, sintinile abanye. Sometimes nokusikwatela nisithuke, but we feel the love. Joe, South Africans have got love for us.
I know they do.
I mean, I felt it all the way till today, bro. They still show me so much love.
Dude.
They buy everything that I put out.
Everything.
And let me put it this way. I don't want Grotmans or even just artists to feel if they don't have a hit, it's over. Or they're as good as their last hit. That's a lie that you've been told. I'm still hot
And
till
not
today.
to say that
I can go to any
we're
hood.
not saying
I
that
can go to any tribe.
we're not dissing or responding to Uma Porisa. We're just saying that is something that is drilled into our minds. We were all told this lie. You were told this lie. You believed it at some point.
When he's our age,
Yes.
at 45, his interest will probably be in his kids. He's probably going to be a family man. But
He's in 87 now.
But it doesn't mean that he has to stop making the music. Oskido does not necessarily have a number one song, but he's still putting out music. He's still relevant till today.
And he doesn't care.
When you see Maporisa, that's Oskido. When you see Black Motion, that's
Oskido, yeah.
When you see Sistandis filling up venues,
That's Oskido, yeah.
When you see, he'll forever be relevant.
Yeah,
You understand?
exactly,
And
exactly.
that's what I'm trying to say, Guti. Let's not have that mindset of thinking, I must be hot. And a hot in an explanation of kids being hot. Kids will be hot for a certain number of years. And that's good because it's good for younger artists. But for the rest of your life, you've got this life that you have to live. So if you're able, as you're saying, to keep yourself out of jail, to look after yourself, to keep healthy, to look after your business as well, to have the right lawyers, accountants, to be able to, this hotness that this gave you, this music industry gave you, you're able to stretch the rest of your life, this window, as long as possible in terms of creating generational wealth. With what you got here, you still have it in you to do that. Even if it's not, even if it's in the music industry. I know a lot of, Mick Jagger's still performing till today, bro.
Dude.
You too.
You understand?
U2 is still filling up stadiums still today. Those guys are pushing. How old is Mick Jagger now, bro?
So
he's probably 80 now.
So
he's still gigging,
So
bro.
why don't we have Kaifas and Letambuli at Carnival City for Valentine's Day? Why don't we have that in South Africa? Because we're teaching ourselves that what we've created is of no value. It needs to be discarded once it reaches a certain expiry point. We're putting an expiry date on our greatness. We are killing ourselves.
I think
That mentality is just a wrong mentality.
I love Kanye West so much because he preaches people thinking outside of the norm. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And just think differently. These ideas were put in your mind, which are as good as your last hit. That's a lie. I know it because I lived that life. I'm as successful than I never thought I'd be even.
You were told that lie. You believed
Right?
it.
I never believed
and then you proved it wrong.
I proved it wrong. And also, by the way, for those of you guys that whom they call you guys one-hit wonders, probably your one hit might be an equivalent of other people's 10 albums.
Hey, that one hit that is a wonder.
Mic drop.
You understand what I'm saying? That one hit is a wonder because it's magic. They're still wondering
Exactly.
how did you do it? They can't do it again. Even you can't do it again.
Seal, bruh.
You
Still
understand?
filling up stadium. Seal.
To this day.
Seal is now pushing.
Dude, I don't know how many
pushing
Batman
60.
movies, but it doesn't matter. I don't know how many Batman movies. Every new Batman comes out, that's still the best Batman song.
Bro.
I'm
I think
sorry.
It's a South African thing.
No, but yeah. It's everywhere around the world.
No. I'm not talking about Batman.
Oh,
I'm talking about the age.
oh, yeah. Hey, Pela, the young woman. I Kiss by a Rose.
Malema calls it ageism.
Pela, that song was so beautiful, Mvana. He got a white wife.
But
Umlungu washada idak dindi dak what yo. Hey, man, that yo.
And these guys are still gigging, all of them. The UK artists, the
understand?
60s, 70s, the DJs. These guys are in their like 60s, 70s. They're pushing American artists, even talk show hosts.
So-
Jay Leno, when he left that seat, he was in his 60s.
You understand?
Jon
And-
Stewart, when he gave over to Trevor Noah, he was also about to get into 60. He was pushing 60.
So
he was in his 50s.
we need to protect
And like
our
us, when you're
generational
40
wealth.
years old, there's just that thing you're going to feel like mtala. No, go out there and do your thing.
What about Abu Mam Messi Pakela? They should be performing. They should be out there on our stages. You understand? But because we've been brainwashed to put an expiry date on our own greatness, we are burying our icons alive. Seriously, we are the ones who are burying our icons alive.
Let's close it there, bro.
You know?
Let's close
Thank
it
you.
there.
Thank you.
And
Thank
it's
you.
a good point, that one. That one on its own needs a discussion. OGs, and the OGs have got a lot to teach. And OGs understand the game better. It doesn't mean even when you do put out that album, you're putting it out for so you can get a hit. No, it does not necessarily if he goes into studio now and he puts out 10 tracks, he wants to get a number one. So he probably just still loves music. He just wants to put out 10 songs.
I won't lie. Even if it's not music, I think there's some of your songs that some young kids want to remix. I mean,
Exactly.
a young Remember When It Rains remix. You know what I mean?
Imagine the remixes of Mdu songs, bro.
You-
Because Mdu actually was one of the guys who created Amapiano and I was speaking back in the days. LMJM, bro.
You understand?
Imagine how many stadiums will fill up if, and that's another thing that we don't have like us. We don't have a structure of putting together shows and taking artists on the road properly.
Mdu's last hit is
To the whole continent,
Mdu's last hit is Kista by Focalistic.
Oh. Kista is from which song?
Tiki Tiki Yo.
Oh, Gatekeeping, yo.
That's
Also,
Mdu's last hit.
Duncan did it also.
I know, but that was earlier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How many times has that one hit?
But imagine if Mtu says, I'm going on tour.
But-
if we were like Americans,
Yeah.
where we've got a structure to tour the whole continent. Lucky Dube did it. My man, I was a young artist. I was 21 years old getting into this music industry.
Doc
I was
Shebeleza.
with Bongo Muffin. I traveled Europe. I did 5 shows with Bongo Muffin and Grootman Lucky Dube. Till today, he remains my role model. He had 70-something shows all over the world, that man. See,
Doc
the way-
Shebeleza?
just now, I just joined Major League, one show on the North American tour. That time, as a new artist, we just joined Mina Pongo Muffin, Grootman Lucky Dube on his world tour of 70-something shows. See, now we had like 5 shows. We joined him like in Austria and I said Switzerland. And we did some places at Germany, a little town called
Leipzig,
Leipzig.
yeah.
We did Frankfurt. And we did some other places. There's another one that starts with a B. What is it again? It's a famous one in Germany. Anyway,
Bavaria.
No. Anyway.
Berlin.
Berlin, yeah.
Oh, that's
we did
capital,
Berlin
yeah.
as well. That was beautiful. It was a great experience. I was still new in the industry.
Oh,
But
yeah,
my
cultural
man, I admired Grootman's discipline. How he would go to his caravan, how he would speak to his fans, how he was always early when we came to sound check. This is Grootman Lucky Dube. I only saw him for 5 shows, and that changed my life forever. And somehow I think me telling him that one day I'm going to become like him, and it's sad that he's not around here for him to see that. I think subconsciously it was there somehow that right now when I look at myself in my threads, I'm like, actually, I think it was that inspiration, Grootman Lucky Dube.
But look at what we spoke about at the beginning of this conversation. I said that you can't like teach your kids. You need to set an example for them. So what happens? You are Lucky Dube's child, and he set an example. And he didn't say anything, but within your own mind, you wanted to do the same thing, right? I never went on tour with you or anything else, but you went on tour with Bongo Muffin. I went on tour with Sis Tandiswa as well. You understand? And when I was on the plane, Sis Tandiswa came from business class, right, with chocolates, and she gave everyone in economy class chocolates in that plane on the way to Senegal. You know?
It's such little things people don't forget.
And how can I forget that? Number one, she's an icon, you know, and she's coming from the business class seats at the front of the aeroplane, and then she's making sure that everybody in economy class at least has a treat. She didn't need to do that.
So cute.
She could have sent someone on her team to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But she did that. And who knows who's on this aeroplane? We're on an aeroplane, Ethiopian Airlines, dude. Like, it's a big airline. Everybody flies Ethiopian Airlines. Those are the things. Same thing. Sound check, arriving on time. You understand? He was the earliest one down at the hotel lobby. I usually wake up before the rest of my team sometimes, when I'm not working overtime. So sometimes I might be at the lobby before everybody else. He was there before the rest of his bandmates, and he's a legend. And when you see that, right, and you're growing up into your artistry as well, you pass that down to the younger people, because now you emulate this behavior. And through this role modeling, we'll be able to change the behaviors. We'll be able to, bring back value to the black families. We'll be able to make these artists that are becoming famous, that are becoming generational talents, we're going to make sure that they are able to take that generational talent into generational wealth. They're able to love themselves and say, I've got the chance to change my family's story. My family has got generational debt. My family has got black tax. But because I'm getting this opportunity, I'm going to take my family out of this generational wealth. You, that Amapiano star, you are given the opportunity to take your family out of generational debt. You, the soccer player, you are the one that's going to take your family out of generational debt. You have been given that ability, and you can do it. Don't think that, no, it's just me on my own. No, you've got the ability to do it. If Jay-Z could do it, if Will Smith could do it, if Kanye West could do it, all of those people, their grandparents were slaves. Your grandparents were free. You understand what I'm saying? They're in a country where they're the minority. You're in a country and in a continent where you're the majority. They're in a country where they have to adopt a foreign language, a foreign culture. Here, your culture is embraced, it's encouraged, it's protected. You've got much better opportunities than anyone you've seen on your TV screens from Hollywood to build generational wealth. And that's the one thing that we should be inculcating throughout all black people, is that we are trying to build generational wealth, because we'll protect everything that we have with our lives if we know that we're protecting it for the grandchildren that we'll never meet.
I miss you guys. It's good to be back. I miss this guy. And it's always nice to reconnect with him again and, just challenge him and just speak to him. There's still a lot of things to speak about. Today was just about music, and just the music. You just feel good. It's just, this conversation is just the beginning.
Yeah.
So I'll see you guys soon. A lot has happened. I mean, Kanye West happened, Kanye West's wealth. There's a lot of things to talk about there. About ChatGPT that have happened over the past couple of months in the online space, in the country. I've been also following politics, what's happening locally. I come back and load shedding has amplified. There's just so many issues and things to talk about, but it's good to be back. We'll definitely record another episode with our Nota. You guys know this is part of the family. Yeah. And I promise you guys, this year, we're going to be putting in even more work. Last year, the goal was to reach 100,000 subscribers by December 2022. We knocked that out of the park, I think, already by June. And we even got an award for a best podcast, and we appreciate that. This year, the goal, by Easter, we need to knock out 200,000 subscribers off the park. And by the end of this year, we need to be on 300,000 subscribers. But we're not driven by numbers. You guys do know we do our content not to be controversial, not to trend, not to speak ill of people so we get numbers or we trend. We just do good content to give you guys. But obviously, we do hope, with your support, we'll continue with this type of growth that we've been experiencing over the past year. And for those who've been mad at me for being away for so long and not putting out episodes, I apologize. Let's put it this way. I also gave Abanya Bantwana at least a chance to grow their podcast, at least to catch up. Because at least MacGyver is setting the pace for all of us.
Yeah.
He's leading the way. We are following him.
Yeah.
Big up to all of you guys. Don't do it tomorrow. Do it now. Get those mics. Get that camera. You can even podcast with a phone and do your thing. And congratulations to everybody else who has started. And congratulations to you for breathing life into the new podcast.
No,
continue visiting them, bro.
No, thank you.
I love you, and it's good to see you.
No, love you guys too. Love you, Sbu. Love you all, the hustlers and all the support. I'd like to thank you, especially last year, 2022 was a very difficult year for me, and to have your support, to have you as a brother, someone to lean on, was, really encouraging and helped me through a really tough time, and we need more brothers around that are there for their younger brothers as well when we need a hand up. So thank you very much for that.
I love you, bro.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's all love, and it's
No,
good to see
thank
you
you.
glowing, bro.
No,
This is the sentence into sentence.
Yeah, I know. This year is for making money. Yeah. Last year we saved it. This year we're making it.
I'll see you guys next week. Thank you, son.
This is the Hustler's Corner.